To discuss the conflict in Israel, I'm joined by Andrew Allison, Chief Executive from the Freedom Association. Andrew, there's a couple of issues we need to discuss in terms of the domestic reaction to what's going on in the Middle East. But first, let's talk about over there. My line on this is, obviously there is an invasion imminent. They will go in pretty damn soon, possibly even today. We have 400,000 Israeli soldiers gathering on the borders. This invasion is imminent. And I believe it's incumbent upon Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli Prime Minister, to exact, frankly, terrible revenge for the terrible atrocities inflicted on the Israeli people by Hamas last weekend. I mean, this isn't just about military strategy. This is about revenge. This is about a nation avenging what happened to it, isn't it?
Well, it is, yes. And I think all those people who are saying that Israel should show some sort of restraint, well, Israel has been showing restraint in everything that it's been doing. I think that they can't really do any more. I mean, I saw somebody at the weekend in the protest in London who said that they were shocked by what had happened a week past Saturday, very shocked, but Israel is guilty of war crimes. Well, what on earth do you regard the killing of innocent babies as? It's obviously a war crime. So I don't know what the people who are criticizing Israel are on, to be perfectly honest. I think Israel is doing everything that it can to minimize civilian casualties, but it has to destroy Hamas. That has to be its aim.
Yeah, and there will be collateral damage in terms of civilian lives, many civilian lives. Old Jeremy Corbyn was screaming about that from his pulpit at the weekend, saying, well, going on about Israeli war crimes. I've got this kind of feeling that last weekend, not the one just gone, the one before that, when Hamas beheaded babies, raped grandmothers, executed people on their doorstep, cut 260 kids down at a pop concert in a hail of bullets. I've got a feeling those are war crimes.
They are war crimes. It's the only way to describe them. I said people who are defending Hamas in any way, shape, or form have just lost their moral compass.
Indeed. Now, let's talk about that. Now, we had these pro-Palestinian demonstrations all over the country at the weekend. Incredible to me. All the demonstrations were pro-Palestinian and not pro-Israel. Israel are the victims here, but suddenly they're seen as the aggressors, the sort of pantomime villain of the Middle East, as they always are. Do you agree? So you're perfectly legally able to support Palestine, drape yourself in a flag, go on one of these marches, but you're not allowed to support Hamas. Now, in terms of freedom of speech, do you agree with that distinction?
Yeah, absolutely. Hamas is a proscribed terrorist organization. That was done by the UK Parliament a couple of years ago. So yes, you are free to demonstrate, and I will always defend their right to peacefully demonstrate. But of course, what they don't have a right to do is offer support for Hamas, and they don't have the right to wander through the streets of London, as we saw at the weekend, looking for Jews because they were after Jew blood. I mean, this is Jew hatred. You cannot do that on the streets of London. So peacefully demonstrate, yes, but some of the scenes that I saw at the weekend, absolutely not.
You talk about Hamas being a proscribed organisation. It's forbidden, it's illegal, and you're not allowed in this country to vocally or demonstrably support Hamas. Because they're an illegal terrorist organisation. This government classifies them as an illegal terrorist organisation. Why doesn't the BBC do that?
Well, that's a very good question. But as I said, it's also the UK Parliament that regards them as an illegal terrorist organisation. As for the BBC, well, they're an utter disgrace. I mean, they try to use the excuse that if we call them terrorists, we're taking sides. Well, who the hell wants to take sides with terrorists? I mean, who wants to do that? They are terrorists, murdering babies, murdering children. I mean, we saw images or heard of images of of a family, a mother and father and 3 children all huddled together. And these terrorists shot them all and then burnt their bodies. I mean, what else are you going to call this? It's despicable, it's wicked, it's evil. And if the BBC can't call them terrorists, then I'm afraid the BBC has also lost its moral compass.
Yeah, they are very out of step with the rest of the nation, the BBC,
Completely out of step.
on this. And it sort of feeds into, I mean, you wanted to talk about anti-Semitism, Andrew, which you quite rightly call, if we call it what it really is, it's hatred of Jews, it's Jew hating. Why do we have such a problem with this in this country? Because as I say, incredibly, you know, what happened to Israelis? They were the victims of this. Hamas went in, beheaded babies, raped grandmothers, executed people on their doorstep, killed kids at a pop concert, just enjoying themselves. And all the demonstrations in this country are pro-Palestine. Didn't see anybody marching for Israel. Why do we give Israel such a hard time in this country? As I keep saying, I live near Golders Green, a very strong Jewish area. I know these people. They're British. I mean, they might be Hasidic Jews, but they're British. And yet they are subjected to prejudice and hatred every day of their lives. And right now, after these atrocities committed by Hamas, the poor Jews of this country are right in the firing line. They're having a terrible time. Why is that?
Jewish hatred is one of the oldest hatreds in the world. It goes back many, many centuries, probably millennia, really. And I don't understand it because I've never felt it. So I'm not even going to try and get into the heads of those people who hate Jews so much. But to answer your question is why don't we have pro-Jewish or pro-Israel protests on the streets across our country? I think it's because Jews are too frightened. They're afraid of sending their children to school. They're afraid that when they do send them to school, that their school is going to be attacked. It's fear. And I think we need to do more. We need to make the UK a place where Jewish people feel welcomed and feel safe, but particularly safe. At the moment, they don't
Andrew,
feel
just
safe.
let me interrupt you for a second. Sorry to stop you in mid-flow, but we are watching particularly dramatic pictures live from the Gaza Strip now. Massive explosions going on. I mean, we're talking about the plight of Jews in this country. We do have to worry about the people of Palestine on the basis that, first of all, the people of Palestine are not reflected by their Hamas rulers in the Gaza Strip. They are theological tyrants who make life hell for the people who live there. Ordinary Palestinians are like us, as I keep saying. They're just trying to get by, feed their kids, keep a roof over their heads. And we're seeing these explosions now. The invasion will happen soon. The air attacks will continue. We have to fear and worry for the Palestinian people in Gaza, don't we?
Well, yes, we do. But as I said at the beginning of this interview, Kev, Israel really has done everything that it possibly can to warn people who live in Gaza that an invasion is coming, that there's going to be more military strikes. Now, I know it's very difficult to evacuate from that area. I mean, Gaza City itself is one of the most heavily populated places in the world. But I do think that Israel has done everything. But I do feel for these people because I read over the weekend that around 20 to 25% of the missiles that Hamas fires towards Israel don't actually reach Israel. They actually land in Gaza and end up killing innocent Palestinians in Gaza. And I think that's something to reflect on.
Let's return to Britain here, Andrew. And, you know, as I say, I saw Jeremy Corbyn, you know, a man who's never changed his opinion on anything for half a century, and who when he was Labour leader, had one foreign policy, just one, that was, you know, free Palestine. Now, he insists he's not anti-Semitic. He tried to play down the extent of the anti-Semitism problem amid the far left in the Labour Party. He was shot down for that. Still refuses to apologise for presiding over the pernicious scourge of anti-Semitism in his party, but bangs on constantly. He hates Israel, hates, and he's obsessed with anti-Zionism. You know, the formation of the Israel state he thinks is an abomination. I mean, why is he so upset? Why are people like him so obsessed with this? And doesn't it actually, isn't the aroma of this one of actual disguised anti-Semitism?
I think it is disguised anti-Semitism. I don't know whether Jeremy Corbyn is a Jew hater or
sorry,
whether he's
Andrew,
not.
I've got to do this again. I'm sorry.
I know you have. I can see the screen.
Yeah, I mean, look at that. Massive explosions going off right now. You have to feel that these are a preemptive strike before the invasion happens. But sorry, I cut you off. You were being very interesting there. Carry on.
Well, I was saying I don't know whether Jeremy Corbyn is, you know, an anti-Semite or a Jew hater or whatever you want to call it. But he certainly holds some very dubious views about many organizations and terrorist organizations around the world. I mean, lest we forget that he described Hamas as our friends.
Yeah, friends, and Hezbollah, his friends.
And Hezbollah as well. But I think the one thing that is absolutely clear in all of this is that, you know, Hamas and Hezbollah want the destruction of Israel and they hate Jews. And when you look at some of the things that have been happening over the recent days, such as some people in Germany spray painting the Star of David onto the homes of Jewish families. And as I mentioned earlier, people wandering through the streets of London looking for Jewish blood. I mean, all of these people hate Jews as well. So it's not just about Israel. And also, I mean, we've got to remember that the Jews inhabited the state of Israel as we know it now, you know, a couple of thousand years ago. You know, they have every right to be there. And certainly after the Holocaust, they had every right to have their own state. And it's such a small place as well, Kev. I mean, it is really narrow. You know, I think at its narrowest point, it's just a few miles wide. They have enemies all around them, particularly Iran. And living in peace for them would be something wonderful. But they're being threatened all the time. So I have enormous sympathy for the people of Gaza, yes, and I'm watching the images in front of me now. But I also have enormous sympathy for the people of Israel who just want to live in their own state.
Absolutely. My guess would be that this enormous explosion we're watching now is they've hit some Hamas target and there are weapons there. So we're seeing secondary explosions.
It looks like that.
That's what they're after. That's what
that.
they're doing before the invasion. They are trying to destroy the massive network of tunnels underneath Gaza, and they're trying to destroy weapons depositories all over that, as you say, Andrew, very small strip of land, 32 miles long and not very wide at all. 2.3 million people squeezed into that, half of them now heading south. It is a human sardine can, it really is. Andrew Allison, President of the Freedom Association, thank you so much for your time.